this early morning focus on the breath is pretty important. So Nadi Shodhana is the one I always like to start off with. So Pranayama Mudra, so bringing the fingers down, thumb on the right nostril, inhale. And again, we'll just start on 4 and 6. 4 and 6 is a nice way just to ease into the breath and start getting the focus. So it's not too intense. Then we'll intensify it a little bit today. So. Okay, so now you're used to 4 inhale, 6 exhale. We'll do 4 inhale, 4 hold, 6 exhale. So now we're going to change the exhale to 8. So that's 4, inhale. Kumbhaka, which is holding, 4, and then exhale 8. Remember, release the exhale slow. Just start working on how you work through that long exhale. And just remember the count isn't 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to go 6, 4, 10. So it's inhale for 6, hold for 4, exhale for 10. So now we're starting to intensify the breathing, and it's just going to require a lot more focus. Okay, so 6 inhale, 4 hold, 10 exhale. So now increase the Kumbhaka, the hold, to 6. So it's 6, 6, 10. So continue on with 6, 6, 10 just for a little while. And if you ever feel dizzy, if you suffer from like high blood pressure or low blood pressure and you start feeling dizzy, anytime we do this sort of breathing, take the Kumbhaka out, okay? So take the holding out. keep going with the inhale, exhale, but always take the hold out if you feel dizzy. So then just finish with one more round, so one complete round from now. And once you finish that round, just bring the hands onto the knees and come into seated deep breathing. And with seated deep breathing, we're going to do 6 and 10. So inhale 6. Exhale 10. Inhale 6. Exhale 10. Just continue with that for another 3 or 4 rounds. And then we'll prepare to move into our asanas. And then as soon as you feel ready, just move into the first asana. So we're going to start off with 2 inversions. The first one is legs up, so you can use the wall or a block underneath you or your hands underneath you. But a nice inversion to start off, two inversions. So we're really going to get that blood pumping through. We're focusing a lot on hips today, okay? So the inversions are just warming us up. We'll do a back bend to warm us up, and then a forward bend, and then it's all hips. So get yourself comfortable. Remember, chin to chest, shoulder blades towards each other. Doesn't matter where you are, on the wall or just legs up. So now you're focused on the breath. So starting with breathing like that in yoga starts teaching you how to breathe in certain points in life. Okay, so not just yoga. So anytime you get somewhere and something's new, to get your head around it, just start breathing, start controlling your breath. Once you start focusing on that area, things seem just to flow a little bit easier. So I think when yoga changed for me is when I realized that yoga is just not an exercise on a mat where you learn how to do cool things. Yoga is actually just giving you the space on the mat to learn how to deal with events in life. And if you struggle, sometimes it's really difficult, especially if you're a Vata. Sometimes you struggle just to focus on the breath because naturally Vatas have got a lot moving inside of their head. So if you're a Vata, it's usually a good practice to start just working on counting the breath whenever you're focusing. So 3 minutes in a pose, start focusing on 4 and 6, or inhale 4, 6 exhale, or even 6 and 6, or just some sort of count to help bring that focus a little bit more like a radar on the focus. So just always use counting if you're struggling. There's days I use counting, my mind just wanders, so I just start the counting process, and you'll just find it just drift away eventually once you practice that. So when you're ready, coming down, and just bring the legs down, and we're just going to have 5 or 6 breaths here and move into the next inversion. Okay, so bring the knees into the chest, have a squeeze, and then come up. We're going to come to a standing position, so it's the standing inversion, so the folding forward. I'm going to be a little bit out of screen here. Okay, so just remember how I've been teaching it lately is just grabbing that bony bit on the hips with the peace fingers and the thumb behind, shoulder blades together, sternum up, chin up, chest up, and straight away you get that pelvic tilt, so the posterior tilt, and then come down, chin up, chest up, and keep tilting that pelvis posteriorly. So you're pushing the bottom part of the pelvis up to the sky, and then come down and down. And breathe. Focus on that breath, focus on the depth of that inhale. So what we're doing with these inversions is using that pelvic tilt, anterior, posterior, just to start getting the looseness in the hips. So we can go deep into some hip stretching poses. So you're halfway through here. Just continually work pushing those hips up. If your legs are bent, eventually start working towards straightening those legs. Or work towards straightening them so they're straight eventually. And one of the main aims here again is stomach to thigh. So this is Paschimottanasana. So that's what this pose actually is. So if you just think, if you can grab your big toes and pull on your big toes, that's a really nice way to do this as well. That is Paschimottanasana, exactly the same what we do when we're seated. So about 35 seconds to go. And when we come out of this, we're going to bend the knees. So we're not going to stand up. We're going to bend the knees and lay on our stomachs. Okay, so just hold where you are. And when you're ready, slowly bend the knees, coming down onto the stomach, coming into crocodile pose. So still preparing to move into the hips. We're going to come into two quicker back bends. So the first one is Ornasalavasana. So bring the feet together, bring the hands out to the sides of the body, palms facing down, chin on the floor, just looking forward. Then inhale, just lift everything up. Okay, now just find a spot. Let's not go too intense today with this. So just find a spot where you're feeling that back stretch. Okay, so you're going to feel it more with the shoulder blades together and the sternum up. So the minute you do that, there's the back bend. When it comes to legs, you want to eventually get your thighs right off the floor, but that'll take a bit of time if you're tight around the coccyx area. So just really work on shoulder blades together, sternum up, chin up, chest up. And then once you're there, start working the legs slowly. So just work there. Now just raise the hands up a little bit higher so the fingertips are coming towards in line with the top of your head. Lift the chest up, legs up, and then come down back into crocodile pose. Then bring the feet together, bend the legs up. We're going to come into Dhanurasana, so bow pose. So just go easy again in this. We don't want it too intense. We're grabbing the feet and we're going to work on the chest first. So shoulder blades together, sternum up. So once you do that, your chest is off the floor. Then kick into the hands and you're going to feel yourself come up a little bit higher. Then point the toes to the ceiling and your legs are going to want to come off the floor then and just hold there. So nothing too intense. Just holding and feeling that complete back bend. Work and then relax. Come into crocodile pose again. And then just help yourself up. And just come into a quick downward facing dog. So stretching through those hips. You should feel it in the lower part of the hips and push the hips up high. And you can either walk the dog out or just keep, I like pushing the floor away and lifting my hips up, bringing shoulder blades together where I get a better stretch. And then when you're ready, we're going to bring the right knee up and bring it behind the right wrist. And then turn those right toes outwards. The more flexible you are, the more the toes will come up towards the left wrist. But just find a really nice spot there. And then Roll the shoulder blades together, chin up, chest up. Typical with every forward bend. You keep looking up as you come down. Keep looking up, looking up, looking up. So this is, well, they do call it pigeon pose, but it's actually half pigeon pose. This pigeon pose is a very advanced pose. You can try it if you want, but I can't do it. So if you just think, just work with the breath, and I'll take you through pigeon pose. If you wanted to come in pigeon pose, you lift that back foot up, and eventually the back foot touches the back of the head as you come up. So you're lifting it right up. I can't get anywhere near it. It's a really advanced pose. Here you should be feeling that stretch through the glute. So whenever you feel a stretch in the glute, that's it, that's the pose. So if you do a lot of walking, this pose here would really get to you because the glutes need that stretch if you walk a lot. About a minute to go on this side. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can just walk the left toes back a little bit. So you can just walk them back. And it'll get you deep into those glutes. Looks like there's quite a lot of tight glutes out there today. When you're ready, slowly come up. So just push your chest away from the floor, roll the left toes and straighten that leg. Bring the right leg back. You can come straight into it or come into downward dog and have a stretch. And then move into the other side. So bring that left knee up to the left wrist, toes around where they need to be. And again, the minute you feel that stretch in the glute, that's the pose right there. So you can stay where you are. The minute you feel that, you want to come further shoulder blades together, chin up, chest up, lengthen through the spine, and down deeper into the pose. So it's pretty intense, can be pretty intense, this pose. And if you don't stretch your glutes much, I haven't stretched mine much, obviously, in the last week or so, because I can feel it. If you want to go deeper, just crawl those right toes back. Just work them back, and that left glute will come closer to the floor. You're just going to get more of that opening of the hips, so you're going to stretch the glutes a little bit deeper. You've got a minute to go. And when you're ready, come out of the pose. So what we're doing here, straighten that back, the right leg, bring the left leg back, have a stretching downward facing dog. So just release the hips so that blood runs through. So that's the idea of this. And push the hips up as high as you can go. So just do that just for about 3 or 4 breaths. Then we're going to come into Sukhasana. So actually no we're not, we're going to come into wide-legged child's pose. Okay, so drop the knees to the floor, bring the big toes together, hips back to the heels, and just come into wide-legged child's pose. I was going to do the Sukhasana forward bend, but this one leads into the next few poses quite well. So. Just a few minutes here, and that gives us really good scope to move into a lot of deep hip openers. So just making sure those hips are as far back as possible. And it's going to give you good range in the hips, good range of movement for the next few poses. When you're ready, you're going to help yourself up and move into Shavasana. The next few poses are from Shavasana, so just let that blood flow through the knees now.
So the next pose that we're going to do, I think I've done it once before in mine, but we did it in the class yesterday. I did it at the gym. So Margaret is either going to love this or hate it. But we're coming into twisted root. Okay, so we're really going to open all the joints of the body, the major joints of the body. So I'll get you to bend your left leg up and then pick the right leg up and bring it over the top. And you want to try and get that foot around the calf if you can. I can do it on this side, but not the other side. Straighten your body up, and then we come into eagle arms. So we bring the right legs over, so the right arm comes under, and then twist, and then just bring the arms to the head there. If that's too much, just release the arms, but try and cross the arms and hold the shoulders. And then drop the knees to the right hand side. But we want to get those shoulder blades flat on the floor. Okay, so you'll feel a really deep stretch through the left hip. And even into the left groin, you might feel it. I am. So it's called twisted root or Supta Gurudasana. So we're opening all the major joints of the body, so the ankles, the knees, the hips, wrists, shoulders, elbows. Are all being opened up right now. And breathe. And if you've got your arms in eagle arms, you can keep sliding the arms up higher so you're getting a little bit more of a stretch. Always work those shoulder blades to sit on the floor. You're going to feel all twisted and uncomfortable. Get those shoulder blades on the floor and even if you can. So line the shoulders up so they're even. You can slide the left foot further away from you if you've got the hook happening on the calf muscle. Make sure you're dropping down to the right. You probably won't come all the way down to the right, but I'm trying to get deep into that left hip. Focus on the breath. It's quite an intense pose, so breath is really important to focus to. So do the counting if you need to. And always just look at straightening yourself up. Because we're so twisted, it just keeps moving us without really knowing the different directions of the body. The muscles start just working back to where they're comfortable. And then release. I'm sure you all love that pose. So now we're just going to switch sides. So right foot on the floor and then pick the left foot up and come over. This is my dodgy side. Try and get that foot hooked around. I've almost got it today. So that's the left leg over, so that means left arm under. And then drop the legs to the left, the knees to the left. You should start feeling that stretch pretty much straight away in that right hip. If you've got tight shoulders and the crossing over doesn't work for you for too long, just release it and just cross the arms over at the elbows, touching the shoulders. Working deep inhales. Really work towards those deep inhales. So you've got about 45 seconds to go here, 40 seconds to go. Take strong mental focus, I suppose. There should be getting a stretch in the right hip and even down the right hamstring. And you might even feel a stretch in the left hip because we're actually squashing the hips together. So they're not opening up, they're squashing towards each other. When you roll that left hip over, knees over. Wherever your tightest spots are, that's where you're going to feel it. So when you're ready, slowly come out. And then we'll do the other side again for 4 minutes this time. No, I'm only joking. Just relax in Shavasana. Allow that blood to flow through the joints. So now we've just opened all the joints. Really got into the hips there as well. A bit of an easier counter pose coming up. Just allow blood to flow back through. Then when you're ready, we're going to come into Happy Baby. So bringing the soles of the feet up. You should know Happy Baby by now and just grabbing the outsides of the feet. You're going to feel perhaps a little bit of tension in the lower back after that pose. So this is going to release that tension. So come as wide as you can go with the knees, and then just slowly use the pressure to come down and squeeze. You should feel that squeezing or that pinch between the hip and the thigh. And just breathe and just remember and work that chin to chest and the tailbone to the floor. Okay, that mightn't happen for a long time, but once you get the tailbone on the floor, chin to chest, you're lengthening through the entire spine. That's when the hips start really opening up. So work towards it, and that squeeze, that pinch between the hip and the thigh on either side. I know a lot of people do a lot of classes where people just hang in this pose. There's a lot happening in this pose. If you just work on it, first of all, we need to straighten the spine, lengthen the spine. So work on that length in the spine. Shoulder blades on the floor, chin to chest, and then start working the tailbone down to the floor. You might think you're never going to get it, but you will. Use that mental ability that you've got to work that into the physical ability to bring it down to the floor. And all the time, just keep pulling down on those feet. So the knees are coming down towards the floor. If you're ever in this pose and you're just hanging, just got to go through that whole process, what I just said. So when you're ready, release. What we're going to do is stretch the legs out and just give them a little bit of a shake. And then we're going to come into windshield wipers. Windshield wipers are a really important pose before we go into this next pose. So bend the legs up, toes and heels touch, knees touching, and then just come into windshield wipers. So we're going to do this for about 30 seconds. I want you to go really, really slow. I want you to feel how your spine's feeling. Feel how your hips are feeling. Come into that. Once you bring the knees down to one side, really twist that spine and the hips. If you're hearing crunches like I'm doing, that's a good thing. It's just opening up through the vertebrae. And then when you're ready, come back to center and give yourself a hug. So allow yourself another 10, 15 seconds here, squeezing those knees in, rolling on the lower back if you need to. And then rolling up to a seated position. Beautiful. Nice to be sitting up. So we had legs out. So we'll come into, you might need your strap for this. So we'll come into Gomukhasana. Now you've got the option here just to do the hips because it's just a hip focus. I'll just adjust my screen. Yeah. So Gomukhasana is cow face. So we're going to bring the left foot under the right thigh and then bring that right foot over the top. Okay, so if that's where you're at, if you can stack your knees or you want to try and stack your knees, just come up and move, twist around to stack those knees. It's a little bit harder today. And stack the knees. If you can't stack the knees, how to work on that is just bring that right foot over and place it there. But don't be comfortable with that. You want to bring the stomach to the thigh. And once you do that, you can start working that foot away from there. Okay, so if you're in that and you want a shoulder stretch, it's right leg over, so right arm under. So we'll bring the left arm up, right arm under, and come into the shoulder stretch. So totally up to you if you want to bring shoulders in as well. And if you're using the strap for shoulders, it goes in the top hand.
Just take your time, and if the shoulders are too much, drop out of it or don't do it. Really work on these hips, squeezing them. You're really squeezing the hips now. And always, with this pose, always make sure it's pushing yourself out of the comfort zone. Okay, so you don't want to go into pain, but you want to go into discomfort with this pose. It's a real, once you get this pose, you'll just feel so amazing once you get that opening of the hips. So the hips come out and down. Sometimes you just got to keep readjusting yourself, particularly if you're tight. So I did a bit of a weight session yesterday, and I'm feeling every single joint of the body. So after you've had some sort of weight training or some sort of class, functional class. So just breathe. I'm going to do the last minute with shoulder stretch. A minute to go. So you probably start feeling it now. We've done some deep hip stretches, but the rest of the class are hip stretches, so you're going to feel it. You're going to get such good mobility at the end of today. And when you're ready, release. So again, we're going to just release, stretch the legs out. You should feel that once you come out of that pose. I know everyone will. Then bring the right leg under. That just keeps moving. You're going to need a new mat. Right leg under. And then bring the left leg over. And then if that's where you are, push that stomach around. So you'll feel that spine straightening, because if you're like this, you're actually just leaning onto the right hip. So you're doing nothing. So you push that away and even grab around that knee like this. It's a really good pose. And then work it out. Work that bottom foot out. If you can go a bit deeper, you come up, twist, stack the knees.
This looks so awkward.
And then come back. Again, it's pushing that stomach into the thigh and then working into the pose. You can do the shoulder stand, the shoulder stretch, if you like. So it's left leg over, so right arm up. Come into that. There's a couple of minutes, 2.5 minutes left. Always left about 30 seconds to get into this pose. And just remember, that's good, Jules. It's good. You're in that really good. And Chris is showing off by coming forward. Well done. So yeah, once you're comfortable in this pose, you can come forward and work your way down. And that's what that's doing, is bringing chin to chest, lengthening through the spine. And it'll actually, the hip is coming over and out, over and out somehow. And then so the hip's going to come forward as well. So it's a really nice stretch. But until you can get your arms comfortable and your spine straight, there's no point coming forward. Okay, so you're going to dump into the spine and you're going to come out with a sore back. So just work on. That's why I like to break this pose up, work on hips first, and then another day we do it just with shoulders, another day with hips, another day with shoulders. And when you're ready, you'll do both together constantly. But once you actually nail this pose, it's a really good pose. As I said, this is the pose I used to run away from. Terry up at Tweed, she does this, I think, nearly every class. And I just hated it. I couldn't stand it. That just means you need it. So if you're hating this pose right now, it means you need it. If you're loving it, you're not doing it right. Straighten that spine. And then when you're ready, just release. Slowly come out. We're not going to go in Shavasana. Just going to stretch the legs out and come into windshield. Windshield Viparasana. Next. Which is just windshield Viparasana. And just slowly just work your way into releasing those hips. God, this time goes so quick. Okay, so we're going to go into, I was going to do another pose, but we haven't got time, so we'll go into frog pose. So because we just squeeze those together, so we've done that a few now, squeezed, open. So that's how you get good hip release. So now we need to open the hips. So knees out as wide as they can go, toes out, heels facing in. Come in front, you can use the bolster or whatever you like in front of you. Push the hips back and slowly work your way down. That's it. And keep pushing the hips back. So you want to feel, it's almost like when you push your hips back, you hit a wall. Okay, so you want to feel that wall. If you're not feeling that, just bring your knees out a little bit wider. Or you might even have to reset if you're not feeling that. That's it. Yeah, that's good. And it should be quite intense inside the groin. And a minute 20 to go. So 40 seconds left. So push those hips back as far as you can. And when you're ready, just push the chest away from the floor. Oh, God, this one always hurts. Coming up. And when you come up, just flip yourself over onto your butt. So no Shavasana yet. And just have a bit of a stretch. And you can come into just a few windshield wipers, but you really want the lengthening of the legs here. after that pose. We're just going to work on one more quick pose. It's a minute either side. If you've got your strap handy, your strap. And this is really important to finish with this pose. So it's a minute either side. So we're just going to come into Janu Shirasana. So bring that left foot up. But what I want you to do is bring the right foot out wide, okay, as wide as you can go. So not straight down. So you want it to even come off the mat, if it can. Then grab the strap. And then we're going to twist in that lower spine. Okay, so lengthen and then twist. Lengthen, twist, and then come down. So you're going to feel the difference. You're going to feel it in the left hip a lot more. So just lengthen, twist, and pull. And come as close as you can. So just challenge yourself to come as close as you can. Stomach to thigh. If you've got stomach to thigh, just work a little bit deeper. It's a minute long, so just put up with that intensity in that left hip if you can. Again, you don't want to feel pain, you just want to feel intense. So we're getting a stretch through the right hamstring. But the main thing we're doing here is we're twisting the lower back so we can get a stretch through the left hip. This is really going to finish off the hip opening class perfectly. There was one more pose I wanted to put in, which was square pose, which would have been perfect, but that's 6 minutes, so just no time. But that's what happens when you've only got an hour. So I get a bit of shakes in this one here. So if you're getting shaking, that's good. It's a good thing. If you can, last couple of seconds, bring your forehead to the knee. And then slowly come up. Switching sides. Left knee out wide, left leg out wide. Left foot on the inside of the thigh. Right foot, sorry. You can't put your left foot out and left foot on the inside, I suppose. Yeah, that's when you become a real yogi. You can do that. And when you're ready, pull on the strap, lengthen through the spine, chin up, chest up. Again, challenge yourself. Come as close as you can. Just a little bit further than you did last time. It's only a minute long, so you can do this. That's good, really good. Everyone's getting good width in their hips. So you're getting that stretch in the hip. And if you're feeling it in your knee at all, you can just place a block or something, a towel under your knee, your right knee. I'm feeling it, so just pull and stretch. That's good, awesome, really good. In the last 20 seconds, if you can, come a little bit closer and bring that forehead to knee. And slowly, slowly come up. And moving back into Shavasana. It's right on 8:30, so I know maybe people may have to go, but try and just lengthen through the legs if you can. Allow that blood to flow through the knees. And then completely relax. And obviously, if you need to go, you can go. If you want to stay in Shavasana, just bring the shoulder blades together, chin to chest. And relax. Beautiful. So now just feel the sensations around the hips, around the knees, around the joints. And although we really worked on the hips today, we did a lot of joint work There's a lot of work in the joints, particularly the lower joints. I just think that it's really important to focus on getting these joints, stopping them seizing up. So the movement of the joint, the stretching of the joint, stretching of the connective tissue is really important. So focusing now just on the breath, on the chest. So just focus on the chest, rising and falling. And once you feel a good rise and fall of the chest, just bring your awareness to the heart beating. Just focus on the heart. So don't touch the heart with your hand. Just focus on the heart. Now go back to the breath through the nostrils and out the nostrils. Inhale, exhale. Now move to the chest. Feel a couple of rises, a couple of falls, and then go back to the heartbeat. Once you feel that heartbeat, go back to the nostrils. Feel the inhale, the exhale of the nostrils, and then move back to the chest. Once you feel that chest rising and falling a few times, go back to the heartbeat. And then go back to the nostrils. Back to the chest. And then back to the heartbeat. So this is centering yourself. So whenever you feel out of sorts, you can just lay there or you can sit there, whatever you like. But focus on those three areas. And you give yourself 2 breaths. And each time you go back to the heart, you'll feel the heart a little bit more intense. The heart isn't working intensely. You're going to feel the beat more intensely. So if you ever feel a little bit anxious, a bit depressed, or just worried, or just not feeling yourself, easy way to center yourself. Once you center yourself, you find that you're connecting to your true self. And you're not listening to ego. You're just allowing the flow of the energy to happen. So just go through it once more. So chest. Feel it sink and rise a couple of times. Now feel the heartbeat. Now move back to the nostrils. Back to the chest. Back to the heartbeat. Feel the intensity of that heartbeat now. Then go back to the nostrils and just become aware of the natural, spontaneous breath. And give yourself a bit of thanks and praise again for being here and dedicating yourself to this time on the mat. And send off a gratitude to whomever you please. Just make it really heartfelt, not just for something to do, but just really make it heartfelt. You're ready to start wiggling the toes, the fingers, and rolling to the right hand side and coming up into Sukhasana. Hands in Namaskar, prayer position, thumbs in the middle of the chest, shoulder blades together, sternum up, chin to chest. And thank you all for being here again this morning, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And I'll see you all again soon. Namaste.